I offer my most loving pranams at the divine lotus feet of our most beloved Swami. Brothers and sisters, Sai Ram. Today we are extremely blessed to have in our midst a very ardent devotee of our beloved Swami and the author of the book Sai Baba My Palette, Captain Vijay Sharma. He was an airline pilot for more than 30 years and he retired as Director of Operations in Indian Airlines. But the greatest blessing that he had during this tenure was the opportunity to fly our beloved Swami on many flights within India for almost 20 years, from 1973 to the early 1990s. And Swami, in these many flights, blessed him with many in-flight experiences. In fact, cockpit experiences, which he's here to share with us. But in his humble view, the greatest miracle that Swami showed him was that Swami allowed him to look inside and realize his self, his true self, and also see the same divine light shining in every person that he came across. So he's here to narrate this beautiful journey and this pursuit of seeing oneness in all. So please join me in welcoming Captain V.K. Sharma.
Om Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Babai Namaha. Om Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Babai Namaha. Om Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Babai Namaha. Pranams at the lotus feet of our dear Lord Swami. Dear brothers and sisters, Sai Ram. Little louder. Yeah, now it has reached Prashanti. Thank you, Swami, for sending me here. No, not sending. Coming along with me. We were here about 12 years back in the Flushing Science Center. I still remember the fond memories of our trip. In fact, when I see the picture of Swami like that on the video, then I can't talk. Tears come to my eyes. The fond memories of our beloved Shri Sathya Sai Baba. But I shall try to. The first ever time I came to New York was in 1998 for a very specific task. And that was, we all were having a retreat, Northeast Mid-Atlantic retreat in Pocono Mountains during the Memorial Day weekend. And I was, you all had asked me to come and speak. That was the first time I ever spoke. And I remember that time we arrived in New Jersey, stayed with our friends, and we started off for the Pocono Mountains. As we were driving 3.5 hours or so, and we were singing bhajans during our drives, we had a very good time. As we were approaching the Pocono Mountains, the 2-lane became a single lane, and at one point in time, the traffic came to a halt because of some traffic jam right in front. And our friend couldn't maneuver either way to get out of the traffic jam. We looked at our watch. It was about 30 miles to go, maybe 35 miles, and only 50 minutes left. So we're marking our time, how to reach there in time for the talk. So we were praying, Swami, please do something. And suddenly we noticed, up in the front of the line, a black truck broke the line, zoomed past, made a fast U-turn, came on the left-hand side of us, and in a commanding voice, he said, "Follow me, I'll take you there." So instinctively, our friend followed that command, not knowing who he was, from where he has come, and he took the car out, followed him, and that black truck, I don't know how he didn't go on the highway. He went through the village road and up in the small, narrow village road, up and down, and driving very fast to catch up with that truck. And the truck was going pretty fast, and we noticed the speed limit on the road was 30 miles per hour. But our friend, the truck was going at 70, 80 miles per hour, and he was trying to keep pace with the truck. So I was trying to calm him. Okay, it's all right, take it easy. It's all right, take it easy. Hanging on to our seatbelts. Finally, after a big ride, and then he made it in 20 minutes, and he brought us on a highway. We caught up on the highway. And as we approached the highway, this hand from the black truck came like this, and he pointed like this. And where he pointed was written, "Sai Retreat." Oh my God. I immediately took out my camera, and I said, "That's good pilot, this truck, whoever he is, good Samaritan." And he helped us reach us in time. I took a picture of that black truck. Those days we used to have that Kodak camera, Kodak film. So took out the camera, took a shot of the black truck, the bonnet in the front of our car, trees on both the sides, and the black truck right in the middle of the road. Okay, fine. We came, and of course, we were in time. And then retreat. And that was the first time I spoke to about 500 to 600 devotees of our beloved. And in pin drop silence, it went out very well. We were very happy. Well, came back to Delhi. We developed the film. In that print, the bonnet of the car came, both sides. The trees came, but no sign of the black truck. I started wondering, I did take the photo, and both the truck was right in front. Everything all around came in the print except the black truck. So this got me thinking, well, this has to be something which is beyond my thinking. Who was that in the black truck who guided us divinely, got out of the traffic jam? Of course, you must have guessed. In our traffic jams, in our situations in our life, which we sometimes find ourselves into, there's some power, some force, some divine power that guides us right from here within our conscience and takes us out of a traffic jam. Traffic jam is in the mind. When too many thoughts start clustering in the mind and there is not a smooth flow of the thought pattern, it creates a jam which we call as agitation or confusion or worry or concern or whatever it is. There is someone who is handling the jam in the mind. So, please excuse me, while speaking my throat becomes wet and my doctors have advised me, take occasional sips of water, you'll be fine. So then what happened? We came to Delhi, got back into my flying, and as you remember, I was in a pilot with the Indian Airlines. And who made me a pilot? I came to know much later. It is only Sri Sathya Sai Baba who made me a pilot. I remember the times when I was 18 years old, time for me to choose a career. And my uncle in Delhi told me, hey, Vijay, tomorrow there is an interview for the Air Force. Why don't you apply? I said, Mamaji, no, I'm not so keen on the Air Force. He said, no, you must apply. I said, fine. He forced me to go tomorrow morning, and the previous night I developed fever, 102. Mere thought of going for an interview. He said, no, I have to take you. You take Anasin, Crocin, whatever, but you are going with me. He forced me, I went, I didn't make it. Somehow I was happy that I didn't make it. Then my younger uncle told me, Vijay, why don't you become an airline pilot? And it clicked. Some tube light burned. I was very happy. Because you see, in our family, we come from a family of pilots. My two uncles in India, they were the first Indian airmail pilot back in 1931. And my aunt, my mommy, she was the first lady Indian pilot. Yeah? You can do that too. First lady Indian pilot. So, and my many uncles later on became pilots. So I can say that the flying was probably in our blood, you see. So I became very happy. I became a pilot. And later on I realized it was Sri Sathya Sai Baba's planning to make me a pilot so that one day he would grant me the opportunity that I'll be fortunate to fly the Divine Lord on my flights. Before I go further, let me complete. We're back to Delhi. And in Delhi, I returned home. I get a phone call from Puttaparthi by a station engineer. And he gives me a story. He says, Captain Sharma, the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, he had come to Puttaparthi and in an Air Force plane, and his two pilots expressed a desire to the station engineer, can we have a darshan of Sri Sathya Sai Baba? So he said, sure, I'll try and arrange it. So he arranged for the darshan, and Swami was so kind that darshans, he granted them an interview. And when he granted them an interview, in the interview room, the engineer was there, these two Air Force pilots were also there. And then Swami suddenly tells those Air Force pilots, you know, I also have a Sharma, a short Sharma. I also have a pilot, a short Sharma. And he has just returned from USA. Oh my God, the moment I heard this, I felt so happy. You know, we have Swami in our heart. All the time we are free. At any time of the moment, we can call upon Swami and remember him. But when being told that Sai Baba, our dear Lord, he remembered me and he called me, that means I to exist in his mind, in his heart. So I felt intensely happy, contented. And then I was so motivated, I told my family, I said, come on, let's go and visit Puttaparthi. So with our family. One thing good that Swami had given us, that wherever we went with our total family, wife, 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. Anywhere for spiritual activity or even for sightseeing, fun or anywhere. We've been traveling together. So we went to Puttaparthi and it was very kind, very grace of Swami that he had allowed us to stay to sit in the upper veranda behind the first pillar right there. So only this far away from the door where he comes out. And we sit there, as you know, looking at the handle of the door. When would the handle tilt down, the door would open and the sun would rise. So sitting there, it is meditation. When you're looking at something, unmindful of anything else, is meditation. Thinking of one thought to the exclusion of any other thought is meditation. That is the focus, one-pointedness of the mind. The other thoughts don't disturb you. The door opens, comes out our dear Lord, and he says, Sharma, Kabhi aaya? When did you come? I said, Swami came this morning. Acha. And I said, Swami, I want to speak to you. He said, yes. And I got up. I said, Swami, they asked me to speak in a retreat. Should I have spoken without your permission about my experiences with Sai Baba? He said, yes. Go and speak. Then he materialized lots of vibhutis in hand and he dipped his thumb in the vibhuti here and he's applied on my head, like on my forehead, and did a tilakam. And then he said, yeah, go, speak. That motivated me to speak. It is with that permission of Swami, with that inspiration of Swami, that encouragement of Swami, that grace of Swami, that I'm here to able to speak to you. You see, before we come in the fold of Swami, before he gives us a darshan, we should understand what is the meaning of darshan. Looking is fine. You can look at any divinity, like you're looking at any other person. But darshan is when you know who are you looking at. The picture of God is first in your mind, and then you see its proof, sakshatkar, in a human form, right in front of you. That is darshana. To make me eligible for it, deserving for it. My dear beloved Swami put me through a school, a primary school, to educate me, to bring me up to the standard where I would appreciate Bhagwan, Lord, God. How he did? He put me in primary school in the world. He made me a pilot. He made me instructor in Jaipur Flying Club. There, at the age of 23 only, I had a divine chief pilot instructor, Captain Bhandarkar, still a short fellow, very sober, quiet, serene, humility. And in those days, I was too young. And who all came for learning flying at the Flying Club world? Nawabs and the kings and the princes and the Maharajas of Jaipur. One day the Maharaja of Jaipur, Savai Man Singh Ji, he came a tall, 6'4" And the first time I saw him, you know how the Maharajas stand? Like this, gently, gracefully, like an elephant. Yet, humility. You see, a fruit-laden tree always bends with humility. The one who doesn't have any guna, qualities, virtues, he stands straight with an ego. So from these great personalities, of course, I'll cut out the rest, you can see, read in this. I learned from them humility in spite of your position. And I had the opportunity to fly the Prime Minister of India, Srimati Indira Gandhi ji, on a flight from Bangalore to Delhi. She was very tired. In the morning, 6 o'clock flight. She slept at 2 o'clock in the night. 4 o'clock she was up in the plane, very tired. Her staff told me, Capt, she's very tired and a little cold. Can you please take care of her? Sure. After the flight, I went, approached, I says, I believe you have some headache. Can I give you something? He said, no, I'm fine, thank you. Then she looked fresh. And she greeted me, good morning, Captain Sharma. She, in spite of being tired, she remembered. She was alert there. I asked her, Mrs. Gandhi, I just told you had only 2 hours of sleep. You were whole day, you're electionary. Where do you drive your strength from? She says, Captain, she smiled sweetly. She said, Captain Sharma, you'll be surprised. I drive my energy from my work. When I heard this, it didn't immediately register. I went to the hotel, slept the whole day in the hotel. In the evening, I was miserable. Back home, I worked the whole day. In the night, had a good night's rest. And the work gives you energy. So it went on. The physical, my outward nature was being tuned by meeting such great personalities, and he was the divine teacher. When the primary school education was finished, then came the high school education. Then came the inquisitiveness in me. One day, flying from Delhi to Kathmandu on a flight early in the morning, 31,000 feet. Beautiful Himalayan mountain peaks on the left-hand side, snow-covered. And the morning sun was brightly lit, making the bright snow peaks shine in the sunlight in the morning. And the one air hostess comes running. This is Captain Sharma. I said, yes. There's a sadhu, a sage, in orange clothes. He wants to see you. I said, please, with respect, ask him to come. And she ushered in a sadhu, a sage, and he stood here. He looked like a South Indian, tall and orange clothes. He says, Captain Sharma is very pleased with you. I hardly know him. And then he says, I would like to give you a present. I said, yeah, thank you, sir. And then what he did, he rolled his hand like this, and from the wall of the aircraft, he moved his hand like this, and his hand was full of vibhuti here, and in the center palm there appeared a golden locket. He dusted the locket, gave it to me. He said, keep it with you always. I'm still carrying this locket for the last 45 years. This is the locket that he created for me. On one side is a picture of Ma Lakshmi in it. I've been wearing it ever since. When this happened, came back home. In our home in Delhi, we have a first floor. We had made one room there, 3 children. After the flight, I used to rest for a while. And then I started thinking, what happened? How did this sadhu create vibhuti in his hand? How did the gold pendant arrived in his hand? And best of all, why did he give it to me? There must be a purpose. And then started thinking, what is the purpose? Why and how? You know what our divine teacher had done? He had created inquisitiveness in me. The inquisitiveness to know. Those days I was a young kid, like you. And I was quite happy with, be good, do good, don't harm anybody and all that stuff. And suddenly something, he stirred my inside and I started inquiring how and why of things. Then I got into the religion side of it, and then my second education started. Swami put me in touch with all those great saints and sages of India. Swami Chinmayananji, Swami Dayananji, Nisargadatta Maharaj. And Murari Bapu, Ramesh Bhai Ojha, Venugopalji, and and all of them. And my favorite teacher in those days used to be Maharishi Ramanna. I read his book, Talks with Maharishi Ramanna, and he taught me the technique of ask yourself, quieting your mind, who are you? And where am I? Who am I? That questioning. So having heard all these from these people, what did I learn? I learned, Swami Chinmayananji, I learned, he flew in the aircraft. Look what a platform Sri Sathya Sai Baba had created for me. In the flight, all these great saints and sages fly once in a while. I used to bring them in the cockpit, they sit back behind me, and it used to become an interview room. The teacher, divine teacher, and we used to ask questions. I asked Chinmayananji, I said, Chinmayananji, we face situations in life. When we are in the present, no problem. But out on our own, how do you handle them? He gave me an example of an aircraft. When you're flying, you find bad weather. How do you do? Radar, steer yourself, seatbelt on, prepare and all that. That's the way you handle, use your intellect. Handle the situation, face the situation. And then he said one thing, remember one thing, even this too shall pass away. Tackle it, that will also pass away. Goodness, bad, anything. I learned from Swami Ramesh Bhai Ojha, he says, if you don't have money in your pocket, you should have honey on your tongue. So these are the things that all these sages have taught me. The great Sikh sage, Swami Virsa Singh Ji in Delhi, he taught us, be happy, be contented, count your blessings. Not how much you don't have, with what you have, and feel grateful for it, and thank dear Lord for what you have. Count your blessings. So with these teachings, and one thing I learned from them, God. Who is God? How do we recognize God? How to realize God? If He is in us, what prevents us for coming face to face with God, realizing God if He is in us? So then he told me God is in the entire cosmos, in the entire universe, He is all pervading. All these are the forms of the God only. I said, fine. And then he said, God, if He ever comes, or whenever He comes, like Rama He came, Krishna He came, Sai Baba has come, then you can recognize Him by His omnipresence. He is present at the same time in all the places, including your heart. And he also told me that He is omniscient. He hears everything, anything, any thought anybody creates or any emotion anybody has, He knows instantly. Why? Because being in the creation, He also is in our heart as well. And He's very powerful, omnipotent. All the power you will find in His hand. With this knowledge in me, if whenever you see God in a human form, sakar form, then with these things if you find in Him, that is the Lord God incarnation. With this knowledge behind me, I started to find out about God. If He says, the teachers say the God is in me, what prevents me from seeing God in me. They told me it is a covering moss upon the lake. When the moss comes upon the lake, you are not able to see the water in the pond. What if the teacher comes? Teacher comes, removes the moss like this for you to see the clear water there. Also, between you and the sun, if there is a cloud patch in front of your eyes, the sun is ever shining bright, has always been. Only you are not able to see it, only I am not able to see the sun because of a curtain between you and the sun. This curtain, my dear, is created by the mind we normally refer to as the ego. The ego, so I started to find out, oh Lord, Swami, please tell me what ego is. And very kindly, very sweetly, he gave me an experience of ego. I was flying from Delhi to Kathmandu, morning flight, passed through customs immigration, and 4 stripes, Capt. One hand briefcase, another hand a night kit. We were going on a night stop flight. After clearing the immigration, I came on a door from the immigration hall to go to the tarmac to proceed to the aircraft. I had both my hands full like this. As I approached the door, the glass door, and on a stool, the guard was seated there. And the guard looked at me like this. I expected the guard to open the door for his senior commander. 4 stripes, cap. So he looked at me like this, as if he couldn't care less. And then he's sitting there merrily. Then I looked at like this. He reluctantly, he opened the door like this. And in the right hand, he did a miraculous gesture. He did like this. Go. The moment he did this, go, oh my God, inside me like a tidal wave, my mind rose inside me. And what? And the thought of anger came, thought of pride, hurt came, thought of anger, pride, hurt. And you know, how could he do this to a senior captain? So that thought arose in me and asking me to get angry at the staff there, the guard there. The lesson I had learned from Maharshi Rama, this is where the satsang helps. Something sticks in your mind which changes your life, your attitude, your behavior, and everything in your life. That's why we read books, have satsang like this. From Maharshi Ramana, I have learned the ego rises like a wave, and the thought of anger, greed, envy, jealousy, they rise because they are resting in your bosom, hidden and you don't know. They rise and the mind gets connected with them and makes you angry, makes you jealous, and makes you hateful, and makes you pride. All that feeling it creates in you. And also, Maharshi Ramana had told me, read in the book, do nothing. Stay cool. Do not identify with the thought of anger, hurt, pride, envy or jealousy. They'll keep on popping up in you because they are in you. After all, we are humans. So he says, remain unreacted. Do not connect yourself with the thought. I just stayed put, did nothing, put the briefcase on the ground, the night kit on the ground, and just stood there on the tarmac, and the wave came over me like this. I did not get reacted with it, and slowly it submerged where it had come, and I was back to normal, everything the same. Oh my God, is this ego? my God, is this the ego that has been robbing me of my peace all my life? Is this the ego that makes me angry? Is this the thought that makes me jealous of the other person, envious of the other person? Is this ego which makes me attachment with the world, the objects of the world? Mahashima says, now you have caught the thief that is robbing me of my peace of all the times. Mahashima says, peace is when the mind is quiet, peaceful, silent, serene, tranquil, right? One moment it is peaceful. The next moment it goes to pieces. And we've noticed about this peace. Peace, if we think, depends on our outside objects. Like if we have a sofa set, dinner set, diamond set, everything, but still you are upset. That is not peace. Peace, real peace is when your mind finds its source, the Atma, the God within. That is real peace. That is the real happiness. Swami says, the happiness, as you see, is not truly happiness. Truly happiness lies in your union with God that is within you. I am within you. Realizing the divinity within you, you attain eternal happiness. So when all this was happening, then I knew this. Then I said, okay, Swami, okay, God, if this is the ego which is covering me, then who am I? If you say God is in me, I don't see it. When it's a question of spiritual doubts, only God clears your doubt. It is called Apohan, A-P-H-O-N-A-N. Apohan means 15th chapter, 15th shloka. Shri Krishna says, I remove the spiritual doubts in my devotees. So that means God only removes the spiritual doubts. He gives us the practical knowledge. He did. 15th of March 1973, I get a call from Indian Airlines. Capt, you're supposed to fly tomorrow, a charter flight. I said, where? To Amritsar. I said, who's the charter party? And they say, Sai Baba is the charter party. Oh my God, Sai Baba. And what time? Early in the morning. So I was sort of elated inside, but I didn't know who Sai Baba was. So I started asking our friend, I say, I'm going to fly Sai Baba tomorrow. Who is this Sai Baba? So from here and there, I picked up some pieces of information, and I learned from Shri Aurobindo. Shri Aurobindo ji was a great saint, a revolutionary saint, and his ashram is in Pondicherry, somewhere near down south of Mumbai. And then he was on a fast, on a Maun Vrat, on a vow of silence, when Sai Baba was born. One day after Swami was born, on the 24th of November 1926, he broke his silence and he announced to his devotees, Krishna has come into the physical. And he said, an infallible light shall lead the thought. And then another great saint, Ananda Mohima, when her foreign devotees asked her, Ma, we've been hearing about this Sai Baba. Who is this Sai Baba? She says, you asked me one and I'm going to answer you last time. Don't ask me again. Sri Sathya Sai Baba is the most powerful incarnation ever to come to the earth. And there won't be another for another 60 centuries, she said. Powerful. Of course, the power of the Lord, he, in the 4th chapter, Shloka 6, Krishna explains to Arjuna, when Arjuna was confused, oh my God, Krishna, you say you were before sun, you were born here. And now, he says, Arjuna, you do not know me. I am the eternal, unborn, eternal being. All this creation is in me, and I am in the creation. I am the creator. there were many births of yours and mine, which you do not know. I know them all. And then he said, I control my Maya. I make a form for myself and a descent down, which we call an avatara, for your sake. For the protection of the good, for the destruction of the evil, I incarnate from age to age. So, all the power is vested in an avatar. That is one power. But look at the power of Sai Baba. His power to transform people. He has, in these years of his life, transformed and touched the hearts of millions of the people in the world. By what? By this power of miracle. You see, in the times of Rama, in the times of Krishna, Rama was a king, Krishna was also a king. And not so many people knew them, except those very close to them. But here, Sri Sathya Sai Baba, the entire world knows about him because of the power of love that unites people of all caste and creed all over the world. Once, John Hislop asked to Swami, Swami, that means from the time of Krishna to the time of Sai, where is time? I am Krishna. The Swami told Hislop, where is time? Timeless. Time is for us. We measure time in terms of revolution of the earth around the sun. We measure time. Lord is every time, all time. Time exists in him. When you talk about Swami, the time freezes into timelessness. That is what our dear Lord Swami is. And then Swami says he was a Rama also. At the time of Rama was an actor. He behaved as a Purushottama, as an ideal Purush, ideal person. That's the way we should behave. He taught us the values and how we should live in this life as a good son, as a good brother, as a good friend to that boatman, and later on how to handle an evil people like Ravana. And those days at the time of Rama in Treta Yuga, the good were in Ayodhya, the rishis and munis. The bad were far apart in Lanka. A people like Ravana. And Ravana was a Rakshasa. Sometimes it might be interesting for us to know what is a Rakshasa. Devil doesn't mean he's got 10 heads and horns coming from here and teeth like this and all that. Rakshasa is one person who is steeped into sensuality. He lives at the level of the physical, the senses, like the pashu, like the animals, but worse than an animal. At least the animals are living at this level of the senses, but they don't have a negative desire. They don't have the desire of lust, greed, envy, jealousy, and anger. So a Rakshasa is even worse than an animal because he entertains such kind of desires. And Ravana, the son of a rishi, Pulastha rishi ki santan, and his mother was, of course, a Rakshasa, Keksi. But his 10 heads mean he had lots of knowledge in him. 4 Vedas, 6 Vedanganas, a part of the Vedas, 10. He had mastered all the knowledge. His head got swollen with the ego. That's what made him an egoistic person. So Rama became an actor. At the time of Dwapar Yuga, Sri Krishna found that the good and bad were not apart, poles apart. They were in a family, Kuru family, within a family, within a kingdom, between 2 cousins. And Krishna, Swami, Sai Krishna became a director. He didn't do himself. He directed Arjuna, taught him dharma, and this is what your dharma is. Now go and fight. 11th chapter, when Arjuna had seen, Krishna has shown him that he is a cosmic roop, cosmic form. Then he submitted at the feet of the Lord. Oh my Lord, 18th chapter, 73rd shloka. You are the Lord of the universe. You are the doer. I am only an instrument. Now tell me, what shall I do? He says, go and do your duty. He was a director. At the time of Kali Yuga, our dear Lord, Sri Sathya Sai Baba, has seen in Kali Yuga the good and bad are neither far nor in a family. It is right within us, right in our head. Sometimes we become good, sometimes the bad overtakes us, and we are in a perpetual confusion. So the Lord, the universe, Sri Sathya Sai Baba says, I have now present in your heart as your conscience. I am the charioteer in your heart. Any time you remember me, just stay cool, and the guidance will come from within you, because I am residing within you. When all this was happening, and then we got ready. Let's get back to the flight. In the morning, barely slept that night. Morning we got up, wife, 3 children, went to the airport, and all that clearance part we did, aircraft. Then I said, where is Sai Baba seated? Oh, see, he's sitting in the VIP lounge. So I went to the VIP lounge. He was seated on a chair. Lots of other VIPs were there. As I approached Sai Baba, I looked him straight into the eyes like this, and my eyes froze. Kept looking at him, and I felt immediately that, my God, he has descended my heart through my eyes, making each and every particle of my body full of peace, love, and amritam, nectar and bliss. I froze in his presence as if I did not exist. And when he smiled, oh my God, I can't describe you what his smile did to me, what his glance did to me. And then I realized that when you are looking at Swami, you are doing his darshana. But when Swami is looking at you, that is Sudarshana. So when everybody has a freedom to look at Swami. Everybody, millions of the people. Have you noticed in Prashanti Nilayam when you all are there? We're all, trying to get up like this and trying to catch one look of Swami. And then we are doing sometimes with a letter in our hand, doing this or doing this. Sometimes, so that's with our grace. Oh, Swami, please give us your grace. Please cast a look upon me. One look does everything. Swami says, when I pass in front of you, my energy goes into you and the transformation starts. Your karmas are burnt, your negative tendencies are gone. Immediately from your human nature, the divine nature transformation starts. And then if you are not attentive, if you are not receiving this energy, then he says, my energy gets dissipated and it returns to me unused, and you are not benefited. To have that kind of devotion and earnestness and looking up to Swami with that love, then we get benefit of his Sudarshana. And another thing, how did I feel? You may ask me. I felt like a drop of water touching the ocean and becoming the ocean. The drop of water does not maintain its individual identity, because it has merged with its source, the ocean. That is what religion is. Return to religion is source. Religion is practices, spiritual practices to seek a source. That is religion. The practices may be different, religion may be different, but if you get on to this spirituality that conveys the meaning of spirituality is spirit, reality is spirituality, and that spirit is God within our heart. And then he also taught me the significance of that smile and silence. You see, when we are faced with a problem, then we face the problem with a smile and we maintain silence to avoid the problem. So smile and silence. Smile to face the problem, silence to avoid the problem. And also he told me that this silence means not only the physical silence when you're not speaking, the mental silence as well. Because to maintain silence, we have to conserve our speech. We have to be very careful with the words that we use. Because we see, in the society, we have to mind our language, our words. Back at home, we have to mind our temper. So another thing we learnt about this speaking softly, gently and silent is we have to be very careful when we speak, what we speak. Because these words are like arrows. Once they are out of the bow, they will go and hit the mark. You cannot retrace your words. So we have to be very careful in what we choose to speak in front of the... And also, even God knows this human being will blabber without any restraint. So he has created two sets of gates before the voice, the sound comes out, the words come out of the mouth. One is the inner teeth, the other are the lips. So even with these two walls, even then if something goes out, that is bad. And what makes the words go out? The tongue. Be very careful of the tongue. The tongue does not have any bones in it, but if one thing wrong it utters to somebody, if he gets hurt, he can break many bones also. So we have to keep this tongue under control. So when I learned of all this, at that instant of one darshan of Swami, I broke off that glance, and then I said, Swami, the aircraft is ready whenever you want to. And he said, Acha, chalo. Here I'm talking loudly, and he's teaching me, Acha, chalo, let's go. So we come to the aircraft, and Swami, I received Swami at the foot of the ladder, touched his feet, pranam karo, and then he sits in the aircraft on the left-hand side by the window. On his right sits the other people who have invited Swami to Amritsar. From there he was going on to the mountains, Shimla and other places. So I came, sat down in the cockpit, and before I could start the engines, the people would not leave the aircraft because everybody wants to have a last darshan of Swami, touch his lotus feet. I had to make an announcement, all ground personnel, please deplane, be ready for departure. And left, door closed. I was advised, whenever you fly, go, seek his permission to start. I said, Swami, can I start engines? He said, yes, chalo. So came back, started the engines, started to roll out, taxi out on the ground. I found that I was taxiing the aircraft that day slowly and gently. So I told myself, you are already affected by the way Swami walks slowly and gently, you are now flying the aircraft slowly. We lined up on the runway. We took off. After takeoff, midway we turned towards Amritsar. As we turned towards Amritsar, I put the autopilot on, told my co-pilot, please mind the plane. I'll invite Swami in. By the way, you all are on board. I have your seatbelts on. So as I unbuckled my seatbelt to go back, invite Swami in, Sai Baba in. Those days he was a Sai Baba. For us to say Swami, he is the master, Lord of the universe, Lord of my heart, controlling everything. It took me 20 years to address him, to know him, that he is my master, he is my Swami. When aerosters comes running in the cockpit, it's Captain Sharma, Captain Sharma. I say, yes. I said, Baba is doing miracles. I said, what miracle is he doing? She says, I went to Baba. I said, Baba, will you have tea or coffee? He said, no ma, thank you. He calls every little girl ma. No ma, thank you. She persists, Baba, have something. It's okay. Tea. Swami, sugar? 1 cube of sugar. Okay. Looking at Swami, into the pantry she comes, making a tea for Sai Baba. Something happened. What happened? The moment she looked at Sai Baba, he stole her heart. Her heart remained with Sai Baba, with divine being, Sai Krishna that he is. And brought back with her what? The image of Swami she brought back with her. The connection was made. Her heart is with Swami, and Swami's picture is with that girl. The connection is made, and when Swami is with you, there is an immediate transformation in your life. Now she started to make tea with more love, gently stirring, making tea for Sai Baba. Thinking of Sai Baba, she is working, making tea. Comes to Swami, he said, Baba, your tea. He said, yes. But what are you stirring? He said, Swami, 1 cube of sugar. He said, okay, just see. The poor girl lifted the sugar cube with a plastic spoon like this, and the sugar cube turned into a silver locket. And so, keep it with you. You want to see that locket? Okay, show them. The locket, see? 33? Not coming? Yeah. So this is the silver, this type of silver locket. This is for our daughter he created, but this is the type he created for that aerostess. She was happy. Okay, that's okay now, fine. So after this was done, and then she was very happy. Then I said, oh my God, he's doing miracle. Let me go and see myself what is happening inside. I wanted to get up again. Another aerostess comes running. Captain Sharma is doing more miracle. What happened this time? He goes to a lady, what are you wearing on the ears? This is Swami, nothing. Out of thin air popped in her hands, beautiful golden earrings. And he gave it to that lady. And she was very happy. I said, enough, let me go see myself. I got up. As I opened the cabin door, and this is the side that I see. Both the sides, devotees are sitting. And in the center aisle, our beloved Sai Baba is walking. Not walking. Jumping. No, not jumping. He's dancing. He's dancing there, making each and every person happy, touching someone here, making vibhutis for one, creating something for something else. And another thing, from the louvers, the jasmine flower fragrance was coming, fragrance of vibhuti and jasmine flower coming from the louvers from the entire aircraft. Lovely atmosphere, fragrance of vibhuti, fragrance of jasmine flower. And here are the Sai Krishna making each and every gopis and gopalas happy everyone. It reminded me of the good old times in Vrindavan. When Sri Krishna used to do this, each and everybody sitting there, wherever Swami would go, their heads, their eyes would turn towards Swami. Single pointedness is meditation. Thinking of Swami, looking at his picture, or thinking of his name, mind becomes single pointed, and that is meditation. And each and everybody was all meditating on Swami like this. And what a wonderful sight. Then I went inside and said, Swami, please bless the cockpit. He said, Acha, Mayata, I'll come. I came, sat down in my cockpit. Same thing happened with me also. I left my heart with Swami, brought back his image in my mind. Half my mind was Swami, and half my mind was in the work. I was flying the plane, everything I was doing, but my mind was remained with Swami. And the only thing that changed was I was more focused, more alert, more efficient, and more at peace. When you are at peace, your focus increases, your efficiency increases. Presence of Siddhi Sathya Sai Baba. And then I realized it is possible. If your mind is dwelling upon the Lord, you can do any work, whatever you're doing, in the office, in shaving, bathing, office work, flying, or whatever it is. Then I'm waiting for Sai Baba to come. And as the time came for me to descend, the aerostess made an announcement. And before she made an announcement, the door opens. Swami walks in barefoot. He walks in, stands by my right hand side, puts one hand here, another hand on the other seat, on the seat. He put his charan on the center part of the aircraft we call radar, which warns a pilot of the bad weather. The moment he put his charan on the radar, I said, "Oh VK, for you no more bad weather because Swami has taken care of it." But it took me 20 years to realize every sound you make, every emotions you create, he hears and he knows. When he came and stood there just by my side, something happened. This is what happens. You all feel it. What is it? Silence. What silence? S-A-I, silence. The presence of Swami in your mind, in your heart, silences the mind. Tranquility comes. Peace comes. Serenity comes. Mind is silent. This is our nature. This is what we are aiming for, achieving for. All our spiritual exercises are to silence the mind like this. Where is the anger? Where is the greed, jealousy or ego in it? Only love and peace if the mind is silent like this. And how this mind is silent like this? When Swami steps in your mind and in your heart. Immediately silent. So, we started to descend. As we started to descend, the aerostess made an announcement. All passengers returned to the seats. In a few moments, we are going to land at Amritsar. I said, Swami, Baba, this announcement is not for you. You please keep standing here. He obliged, kept standing there. As we were approaching at Amritsar, the sun had come. The beautiful golden dome of Amritsar was there. I looked at the golden dome and said, Swami, how beautiful that golden dome looks like. He said, yes, very beautiful. Inches away from me, both looking, admiring his own creation. He created it, he's admiring it, he's giving us a chance, you admire also my creation. Wonderful, wonderful. Then with the permission of the control tower, we did a parikrama of the Golden Temple, lined up on the runway for a landing. As we were going to land, I told myself, hey VK, Baba is standing without the seat belt. Huh? You better make a soft landing. So we, luckily, boss was there. The landing was smooth. Touchdown, came on the tarmac, parked the aircraft, cut, switched off the engines, and wanted to unbuckle my seat belts to bid goodbye to my dear Lord. Standing here, out of His great mercy, great grace, He waved His hand like this and created a calling card. I'll show you the calling card. This is the card that he created. Or let it be better. Upar, higher up. Up. Yeah. So, yeah. This is the card he created, on which is written his address, Pendukonda, Andhra Pradesh, India. Yeah? Okay. That's it. Yeah? Okay. And then, this is the card he created, not the outside, this is my doing. And he created the card, And he gave it to me. He said, keep you in your wallet always. So I kept it in my wallet, but suddenly I realized, and I said, Swami, he said, yes, but we are 4. The co-pilot and 2 air hostesses. He said, Acha, give it to me. I gave the card back to him. He took the card, made one like this, gave it to a co-pilot. Like this, gave it to one air hostess. Like this, gave it to another air hostess like this. And he said, now keep it with you always. So I kept this card with me in my pocket. And then he started walking back into the aisle. And then suddenly I rushed after him. And I said, Swami, Baba. He said, yes, I'm shouting. And he's speaking slowly. What a teaching right from the beginning. I said, yes. I said, Swami, please bless my family also in Delhi. He said, come. I said, Swami, so difficult to get in darshan. Who will let me in? No, I'll tell Sonlal, he'll let you in. Come. I said, so that is, came back home, started thinking, meditating. What happened? What did he do? And from this simple way of teaching, Swami is called the 5th Veda. Meaning, the same knowledge which is given to the Lord's Son in the beginning, which is by Vidu Vyasa Rishi, put it in the form of Vedas. He explains the verses in a simple way, even a child can understand, is what our dear Lord Swami is. And he told me, explained to me the meaning of this, what he did. Remember, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamevai Purnamadaya. Are Baba, if you were not there, what will I do? My Dharam Patni. She corrects me, keeps me on the right tracks, gives me lunch and dinner. Sometimes she takes care of me also. Sama. So, and then, Om, the Lord of the universe, the short name of the 3 worlds. Om, Purnamada. Purnam, he is total. Ada means that is God. The Lord of the universe is total, complete, whole. Purnamidam. Purnam means total. Idam is this. From that, this has come. What is this? The creation. From the total, the Lord, the creation has come. Puranat, from the total. Udachyate, reason. From the Lord, this creation is also total. It has come from the Lord. It is risen from the Lord. He is the creator. Purnasya Purnamadaya, from the total. From the total, like he did. Madaya, adaya means to take out. If from the total is taken out, the total remains, and that is Brahman, that is reality, that is the truth, that is God, that is what he taught me. Where does the world exist? In the mind. The creation exists in the mind. Where does the mind rise from? God. He is the creator. And this is his Maya, the creating force. So when the mind is not there, the world is not there. What remains is the Lord himself. In the night when you sleep, deep sleep, where is the mind? But you are there. How are you? Very happy, very peaceful. That is the meaning of this shloka. When this was done, came back home, the call comes from a residence where he was staying in Delhi. Capt. Sharma would like to, please bring your family. I took my family, Ma Prem, sons, 9-year-old Rajat, 6 years Raman, 4 years daughter Rakhi. Sitting in the hall like this, waiting for Sai Baba. He comes, Sharma, brought your family? I say, yes. Where? Here. Ma Prem, son Rajat and Rakhi. And 3 times he pronounces the name Rajat, Raman, Rakhi. And in his presence, as usual, silence. He must have put that thought into me. And I said, Swami, yes. Our elder son was an inch shorter than the younger one. So he always felt. So I said, Swami, Rajat says he's short. He goes to Rajat, puts his arm around him, and he says, look, you're short, I'm short. Height doesn't matter. Grow tall in mind, son, grow tall in mind. Then with his grace, he waved his hand like this, created lots of vibhuti, applied his vibhuti on his chest here and at the back here, and patted him 3 times at the back. Little bit know what was happening in those 3 pattings here. Came back home, went back to flying. Year and a half. The son gained 9.5 inches of height. And he continued many flights that we flew. He did lots of miracles. One day my wife had this thyroid problem. We tried in Delhi. They said, you have to do a radioactive treatment. Oh my God. We went to London, John Fowler, John Hopkins, and here in USA. They said, you have to do radioactive treatment, but then all our hair would go. I said, no, she's got pretty hair. What will happen to the comb then? I said, don't do that. So what did I do? I said, let's go to our doctor. This is Sai Baba. He was flying from Bangalore to Bombay. It took a flight. And she was on board. And a big aircraft, Airbus, took off from Bombay, from Bangalore to Bombay. And then Sai Baba was there. I'm going to cut it short unless you give me more time, then we can have it. Can you? How graceful of you, sir. Thank you. So in the aircraft, I went and approached Swami. I said, Swami, please bless the cockpit. He said, Acha, I will come. I came and sat down in the cockpit. And there behind, this is called an observer seat. We put a white cloth over it and some rose petals over it. We take our shoes off and we slow down the plane so that he stays longer in the aircraft. Slow down the plane and then wait for Swami to come. And then a little while the cockpit door opens, walks in our dear Lord Swami. The cockpit is filled with peace and love. He removes those petals from the seat. He sits down here.